The following paid program is furnished by Coalition Radio. It's for basic entertainment and informational purposes only and is solely responsible for its content. It does not necessarily reflect the views of Cumulus Media, its management, or its staff.
We are the Coalition, covering all sides of the issues. Broadcasting live on AM 790, your station for news and business. I am the PO Taxpayer, and you can find the Coalition on Facebook.com/Coalition Radio, and of course on the mighty Twitter, Coalition_radio, on the web at coalitionradio.us. We've suspended our normal programming today in order to cover both a very special cast of characters and a very special issue surrounding Providence. The goal today is very simple, to have a clear, legend-free, rhetoric-free conversation about Providence, its municipal finances, and the need to, or not to, enter into some form of municipal bankruptcy protection. Joining me today, an all-star cast, I've got Dr. Dan Harrop, Republican nominee for nothing less than the mayoralty of Providence. Dr. Harrop, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. A very special guest, his first time to the Coalition. We've got Robert Flanders, retired Supreme Court Justice, known to many of us as the receiver for Central Falls, and he heads Hinckley Allen's, I'll call it, municipal workout business. Fair statement?
Thank you. Yes, Pat.
Welcome to the show, Judge Flanders. And, of course, a frequent contributor to the show, his first time in studio. Usually he can be found on one of our favorite segments called How Screwed Are We? I've got the Honorable Mike Riley, former congressional candidate, author of R.I. Shrugs, a great blog, a go-to blog, and you can see him typically almost weekly in Go Local Prov as a mindsetter, talking about municipal finance, pensions, and, again, everything surrounding Providence. Mike, welcome to the show on site for the first time.
Thank you. I'm honored to be with all three of you.
Now, this is a great lineup. Dr. Harrop.
Sir.
When last I checked, we just ended a bruising, as they say, campaign primary season. The current mayor of Providence, of course, was running for the job as governor. Now, according to the rhetoric, according to the campaign, and of course, most importantly, according to the Internet, where everything is true, the city of Providence just passed a $678 million budget, allegedly reflecting approximately a 2.3% increase in expenditures, something like 2.4% for education, yet at the same time maintaining a balanced budget and no tax increases. So I guess my question to you is, as someone who one of your principal platforms is running for mayor of Providence is to enter into some form of protection, bankruptcy protection, what could possibly be going wrong?
What's going wrong is the numbers are funny numbers at this point. Although that's what it looks like, what they've done is they've created a hole in the budget of $7 million by adjusting some of the taxes. As a result, they can't persist in the what they have just done, the budget they've done. Mayor Taveras avoided bankruptcy, that's correct, 4 years ago, by cutting 100 policemen, by not repairing the schools so that the city council president at the end of his term admits that the public schools in Providence are appalling. That's his word. The school department simply admits that the schools are not warm, safe, and dry. That's their admission. The potholes in Providence have been worse. The ambulance runs have been cut. And the taxes, while they have gone have stayed stable the last year or two, reached the level of the highest commercial tax rates in the nation for 2 of the last 3 years running. We've dropped to 3rd or 4th at this particular time. That's what's going wrong. What's going wrong is they are not funding an unsupportable pension system, which was created over the last 20 to 30 years by giving unjust pensions for political reasons. Police chiefs, fire chiefs retiring at $59,000 a year, and now having a $197,000 pension. And there are well over 100 people like that. The pension fund was about 31% funded when Mayor Taveras took office. It's still 31% funded, but it's going to get worse as the years go on. And even that 31%, as I think Mr. Riley will shortly tell you, are really funny numbers. They're really juggling with numbers to give you these type of reports.
Mike Riley, you've made it a personal mission, and this is something I give you a lot of credit for. You ran for office. Unlike a lot of candidates, though, you've decided to stay actively in the picture. You've made it a personal mission, really, to kind of dig through the numbers, see where the bodies are buried. What say you on the financial condition of Providence? By the way, as I mentioned, he can be found on RI Shrugs, which is your blog site. There was a stunning little piece that you wrote in July where you compared the indebtedness, if you will, pension situation to Stockton, California, and pointed out that in one of the more prominent pre-Detroit bankruptcies that we were actually exponentially worse. What's the real deal?
The real deal is that Providence has been balancing its problems in the pension area by taking money from services in the towns. And at the same time, they've been misstating both their assets and their liabilities. The assets misstatement is quite unusual. I haven't seen it anywhere else in the country. And finally, the auditor in January, Siegel and Company, agreed with me. Again, Providence didn't claim responsibility for this $57 million pumped up asset number. But finally, when they had to borrow money in June, they had to make an addendum because I warned them if they didn't say on their bond offering, they would be known as misleading the bondholders as to the correct asset situation in the city of Providence. So $57 million was overstated. That's a lot of money. And on top of that, they've been using an 8.25% discount rate in their pension fund, which is, phony land. It's 0.75% above where the state is. And Moody's has already told every city, including Providence, for the last 4 years that they're going to about 6%. Warren Buffett told you the same thing. So they're not using realistic liability numbers. They've actually used close to what I would call fraudulent asset numbers. So the correct liability is well above what they state, and probably even using their numbers is 26 or 27% funded ratio. Compound that with GASB 68, which goes into effect starting 3 months ago, and they're going to have a real problem.
Right. It's interesting because we're going to talk about, as the show proceeds, some of the underlying concepts here. When people hear accounting terms like GASB, their eyes tend to glaze over, and they see that as, bear with me, as sort of a political tool made by the 1%. I want to remind folks that there's a double-edged sword here. Accounting tools like GASB that Mr. Riley refers to are meant ultimately to protect the investors in municipalities. Who are the investors in municipalities? Well, predominantly they're large institutional firms. Well, again, the chattering class would dismiss these people as being, again, 1%. Ironically, a dominant portion of these large institutional investors reflect the investment interests of nothing other than unions. Fair statement?
Yes.
I mean, a tremendous amount of retirement wealth is invested in securities in firms or in municipalities like Providence or the state of Rhode Island. So there's a lot on the table for everybody when we talk about these type of concepts. You can't just walk past them and dismiss them as accounting trickery. In fact, if nothing else, they exist to give a level of transparency to this type of pension fund accounting that makes people's eyes glaze over. The whole point is to have coherent standards across political boundaries so that everyone can look at this with the same clear vision. Is there such a thing as a burn rate at this point in your estimate in the Providence pension funds? I mean, people hear the alarms being sounded. They just assume, though, that the money will keep coming. Is there a point in time where you see, given current status, that will change?
Yeah, there's a negative cash flow. So you're paying $90 to $100 million out every year in benefits out of a pension plan, and your assets are not what they say it is. Providence at $400 million, they're actually $270 million. You could earn 10% on that $270 million and still be way behind the eight ball in paying off the benefits. So there's negative cash flow. It's a very dangerous situation. One down year in the market could put Providence within a year to 2 years of folding the pension fund.
Yeah, after the break, I'm going to talk about what I call the four horsemen of the Rhode Island apocalypse. But Judge Flanders, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're honored. You're, of course, famous to the average Rhode Islander, not only being a justice of the state Supreme Court, but also as the man who oversaw the restructuring of Central Falls. Given what Mike's told us, do you see Is the situation analogous, or do you see from your review Providence being even in potentially more dire circumstances than Central Falls?
Well, I don't pretend to be an expert on Providence's finances, but if what Mr. Riley and Dr. Harrop are saying is true, it would seem as a practical matter that the city is insolvent in the sense that it's really not able to meet its obligations in the ordinary course, and it's resorting to trickery and the like to try and shore up its finances. But the reality is that it needs a big restructuring. Now, Mayor Tavares has made a big deal of the fact that he's, quote, avoided bankruptcy and did what he had to do to try and do that through agreements. In my view, he hasn't avoided it. He simply exercised some half measures that haven't gone far enough in order to buy some time while he ran for governor. But, he may have inherited a Category 5 hurricane in terms of the finances, but in my view, he's leaving it a Serbonian bog for whoever takes over in terms of the finances. So, in my view, the mistake here is to view bankruptcy as the disease rather than the cure, because in the context of municipal insolvencies and troubling financial situations, the bankruptcy provision, Chapter 9, enables cities and towns to restructure their finances in a way that's free from the kind of arguments that unions and others can make about breaching a contract and the like, all of which means that the city can really push the reset button and get to a better place if they would invoke that option.
You're listening to the Coalition on Talk Radio, AM 790. We'll be right back.
Manchester 65 is New England's newest live music and events venue. If you're not completely enjoying your current live music experience, there is another option. Manchester 65 is large enough to support touring acts, yet small enough for that local feel. For upcoming events, go to manchester65.com. Make it your place. Manchester65.com.
ProvidenceNightOut.com is a one-stop destination website where you'll discover a comprehensive guide of everything that the Providence area has to offer. Nightlife, entertainment, dining and dancing, community and family events, and so much more. Download the free app called My Night Out. It's ProvidenceNightOut.com.
Mike's Professional Tree Service offers top-of-the-line tree removal, trimming, stump grinding, stump removal, and so much more. Mike's Professional Tree Service will do everything to safeguard your home and property and is fully licensed and insured. Call them today at 401-823-7485 for a free estimate on tree service, tree removal, trimming, and tree care. That's 401-823-7585. Mike's Professional Tree Service are the tree experts serving all of Rhode Island. Online at mikesprotree.com. That's mikesprotree.com. Midday Records is a label that is comprised of local artists and exists for the sole purpose of helping other local artists find new opportunities and to help build a more thriving New England music scene. Midday Records hosts the area's fastest-growing music-related networking event, the Midday Social, books Midday Records presents shows throughout New England, releases compilations featuring local music, promotes bands through the Midday blog, are the co-founders of Music for Pause, and has recently started an artist development and management division. Stay up to date with Midday Records by checking them out on your favorite social media site like Facebook and Twitter, and find them online at middayrecords.com. That's middayrecords.com.
You wouldn't want your meal shipped from another continent. Why would you want your favorite radio station streamed from across the globe? That's why AM 790 created a super cool app that not only allows you to stream our best shows and music, but it also gives you access to great local deals like half off top restaurants, concerts, and more. Just go to 790business.com and download our groovy cool app. Keep it local, keep it simple, keep it connected with 790business.com.
And we're back. The Coalition on Talk Radio. I am the PO taxpayer. We're having what I call the Great Providence Bankruptcy / Pension Summit. The politicians won't touch it, but we will. We're going to continue to go into